Hello world, this is Lynn Farmstead. Welcome to my channel, and if you're new here, I hope that you consider subscribing and becoming one of us. We are apple farmers around here, and today I'm telling you to stop tipping your apple trees. With my amateur experience, I don't know why I listen to this advice without actually considering it and looking deeper into it, researching and getting to understand why am I tipping my apple trees. So the logic was tipping your apple trees gives you more branches. The trees become bushier, and bushier was apparently better because it was going to give you more fruits, because for every branch that you have, you're going to have better fruits. So this is what I have right now, because I took that advice blindly at first, and then things didn't really work out so well for me, and that's why I went back to basics and started researching and came to find out very late that I didn't need to actually tip these trees from the beginning. So if you're about to start this journey, then I'm saving you the hassle. I hope you come across this video in good time, and please stop tipping your fruit trees. Do not tip your Wambugu apple trees. Yes, we all want all those fruits. Yes, we want them to be bushier, but now we end up with these messy, swindly branches that are all over, and they require a lot of pruning that we're now going to do massively if we get to that point, or rather just struggle with flowering and fruiting. So I know everyone tells you to grow your fruit trees faster, but what if I told you it might be the reason why your trees are not fruiting properly? Today I'm going to show you what I did differently this season and why I'll never tip my apple trees again. Yes, because I'm still going to be planting more apple trees. I'm still going to expand my apple trees orchard, but now I realized that it's better to get it well started from the beginning. When I first started apple farming, my sole source, sorry to say so, was Wambugu apples, because obviously I got my trees from them and their farm is doing great, and I didn't think of researching outside their knowledge store. So what I have is a replica of their farm, and if I look at my trees and their trees, they're kind of the same. But now that I'm doing more research, I've come to realize that the kind of trees that are out there are nothing compared to mine. So I want to prune them at this point because I want more light and better penetration into my trees. And I go to sites that tell me to look for my central leader, and I have like 10 central leaders. I know if you've tried pruning and you've searched for how to prune your apple trees like me, you might have faced the same issue. If your apple trees are bushy and mine are very long, oh, so very long. I think because I have a really good rainfall around here, and also because I've been manuring and watering as expected, my trees are very long. So I need to prune them. But now I look at them and they're all looking like central leaders. And you're afraid because now if you prune, it's like you're going to get fewer fruits. So I've come to realize that it's better for you to start training these trees from the onset, and to also identify your central leader from the onset, so you can have two major shapes, where you either have an open center, or you have your central leader, and then that's where your tree is, your main branches are growing from. So the thing is, for you to do that, you don't need an old bush of apple trees. You need a young apple tree to start directing it from the onset, so that you save yourself all this drama of now starting to bend and sacrifice branches that you have taken years to nature and take care of. Yeah. So instead of that well-shaped apple tree, the ones that I see on the internet now, I have this messy bush, all leaves, no structure, and for like 2 years now, not much flowers to like be proud of. Tipping made my trees produce too many weak shoots, and managing them became a nightmare. The trees grew dense, sunlight couldn't reach the inner parts, and that affected my flowering and fruiting. Of course, it was not the only one. And I know most people also have these tiny bushes and tiny swindles or like little canes, several long and thin canes of branches that are all coming from all over and crisscrossing, and they still get fruit. I understand that, but in my experience, that has not really worked well for me. And maybe it might be your issue as well if you're experiencing problems with flowering and fruiting. So then I came on here to research about how to ensure that my trees give me fruit and flowers and fruit on time. And one of the things I realized, of course there are many, was I needed to defoliate, and I did that. The next one was I needed to shape my trees and to allow more light and more air to penetrate into my dense bush. And for me to do that, I needed to train the trees. And now I'm training branches that are really long. And this is the fruiting season. So I didn't want to go all in and butcher these trees by starting to like trim them down entirely. That's when I learned about a simple but powerful technique that I could have used to save me all this hassle, notching. And today, so I'm telling you that instead of you tipping your trees, so the idea about tipping your trees is you go pinching like the heart and like the first two leaves of the trees, of the branches as they come up, so that to encourage more branching. And it works, and you get your bush. And of course, the more the branches you have, the more the fruits you have. But the thing is, the ones that are innermost, especially if you do not have enough sunlight passing through and air, the innermost ones are not going to give you a lot of fruit, and they're going to be consuming a lot of your nutrients. And so the productivity of the entire tree is going to be much lower because of your little bush that you have nurtured for years, wasting time while sacrificing productivity. So instead of you going around pinching, because what you do when you tip, you encourage the horizontal branches while you discourage the lateral growth, yeah? But you cannot tell where these branches are going to come in from. So they come from all over. Some are facing inward, some are facing outward, some are perfectly shaped, others are not, some are crisscrossing, others are not. So you are not in control of the shape that your tree takes. But when you notch, it means you can influence the direction of the new branches that you're going to have. So if you have just started your apple farming venture right now, or if you're thinking about getting into the venture anytime from now, just let the trees grow a single central leader for like a few inches, and then not really inches, but when it's well grown, then you can direct by notching new branches the direction that new branches can take. And it's also good to start pruning as early as possible, so you don't spend a lot of manure and fertilizer growing branches that you're going to cut down eventually. And that means the branches that you decide to keep are going to be more steadier and firmer and more able to carry fruit. So what notching does is you go to your central leader, and instead of cutting off the top like we do in tipping, notching means you just make a small wound above a bud to redirect growth hormones. What that does is it's going to encourage the bud just below your little wound to like give, it encourages it to grow into a fresh branch. By doing this, I discovered that I could control where new branches form without stressing the tree, and it encourages side branches naturally, which means better structure and more potential fruiting sites, and also less work pruning, because now you only have branches that are going the direction that you need them to. I now train, as I've started, not with the old trees, but with the new ones that I have in the garden. I'm now training and shaping my trees right from the onset. And instead of letting them grow wild, I'll guide each branch gently, bending and tying them at right angles as they go from the onset, so that by the time they're ready to bear flowers and fruits, they're firm enough, they're at the right angle, so that the fruiting hormones can work optimally, and more likely to have better exposure to air, better exposure to the sun, so better aeration, better sunlight penetration, better photosynthesis, and optimal hormonal action, fruiting hormone action, which is essentially going to make my fruiting season better and more productive. The goal is to form a strong open canopy that allows sunlight to penetrate evenly, which will also encourage flowering buds to develop all around the tree instead of just at the tips. I want you to also go and watch some of these videos about the bushes we have. A majority of the fruits, I don't know, this could also be my biased observation, so do your own homework also. But I've observed that yes, we have massive fruiting happening, but a majority of the fruits are happening at the tips of branches, tips of the main branches, at the central, like the interior of the bush, we have little to no fruiting happening, and then within the branch we do not have much fruit happening. So when I opened up my canopy by training my old trees, which I could have trained earlier, but I was late to the game, have come to observe lots of flowers within the branch. This has not been my experience. The first time I had fruits, there were few and they were just at the tips. The second time, at the beginning of this fruiting season, I had only flowers after I had defoliated, but they were only at the tips, which unfortunately aborted like most of them. But now, when I opened up the canopy, in my experience, I'm seeing a lot of flowers forming within the stem for the first time at the spurs rather than just at the tips. And I've come to realize that Wambugu apples can develop within the stem. There are some spur bearers and tip bearers, but fortunately Wambugu apples is a spur bearer as much as it also bears at the tip, which is an advantage that we do not take when we just let the trees grow laterally. So someone put it in a funny way that when you grow them all facing up and going all the way up, you're just growing trees and not fruit trees. But fruit trees, which is also a funny experience I've had, because I've I've since gone looking around at the indigenous fruit trees, and it's true that some of these trees are just going, most of the fruit trees, the branches are lying horizontal rather than just going up. And what this does is the hormone like cytokinin and oxide something, I guess, the hormones responsible for fruiting are going to act optimally. Of course, you're not going to take my word for it because you've already been tipping your trees and this is new information. Just go and research for yourself, because the thing is, we also are proud to be growing apples in Kenya and in Africa, but the truth is we've not been growing apple trees for the longest time. And there are people out there that have been growing these commercially for years. And it's only fair for us to also get information from the West about how these trees should actually be grown, rather than just doing it our way, especially when our way is not so productive. Of course, it's going to be easier for you to just tip as you go in your farm tours. You go tipping and then you let the trees grow wild. But then that's going to be a mess that is going to cost you when you're coming to prune the tree, because now you can't decide which one to prune. It's better to prune your tree when you have it shaped, because then it's easier for you to observe which one is out of line and which one is in line. And then again, this kind of exposure, when you open up the canopy, is going to give you better fruits. And we're all of us, the essence of planting an apple tree is for us to get apple fruits, either for home consumption or for commercial purposes. So of course, the high productivity is something that we are all interested in, sindio? The difference between what I have in my garden and what I see out there speaks for itself. And also the difference between the trees that I trained, albeit late, which I also acknowledge that after the fruiting season, I'm going back in to really train them better. The difference between these ones that I left standing and the ones that I trained is clear. Because I've done this on camera all the time, you can also bear me witness. My taped trees are bushy and hard to manage, while the ones that I tried to open up the canopy are easier and healthier to manage overall. The only reason I'm advocating for this is because I've tried it in my farm and I've seen the actual thing happening here. It's one thing to observe on camera and see that the fruits, the trees that are like well trained give you better productivity. But of course, we have AI and all this, and maybe some of these things could be manipulated. So the best experience is the experience I've had in my farm, where I opened up these canopies, and the ones that I did not open but rather just let them grow all the way, the difference is huge. It's so clear as day. I know this might not also be the experience of everyone watching me. Maybe in your garden you have a different experience. I love to hear your feedback on this. What do you think? Should we keep tipping and maintaining a messy bush? There's a video I watched from Mwachamu Apples. He did a video where this farmer was really crying about diseases, a lot of disease. The garden, the orchard had been infested by like some fungal disease, and he was advised to prune. And he had a bush like mine. The trees were bushy like mine and all over wild, and he was really butchering the trees. And Wambugu, not Wambugu, but Mwachamu, Charles was telling him it was not the right thing to do by like pruning heavily, and he was showing him the right way to do it. So that convinces me that this mess that we have around here, which is very hard to manage, even when it comes to diseases, even when it comes to spraying, because these things are going all the way up, they are swindly, they might not even support a lot of weight because they don't grow really strong, then it's working against us. It's counterproductive. So if you're just starting out with your Wambugu apples, my advice from my little experience is to skip the tipping. At least go research for yourself about how to train the trees, and don't just go for a bush that is not going to serve you. Start shaping early, notch selectively, and train your branches to grow where you want them to grow, not where they want to go. And you'll save yourself years of frustration. It's going to be easier for you to manage the tree, to spread the tree, to get better productivity, and even to eliminate diseases, because now the canopy is wide open and there's not much bush for the pests to hide in. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Wambugu apple farming tips straight from my orchard, which I'm also learning on the way. And by the way, the real learning is in the comment section. If you're a beginner like me, go to the comment section where we get to discuss and criticize. It's actually good for you to criticize and like review, research about the best care for your Wambugu apples, or even any type of whatever type of apple tree that you're growing in your farm. Let's grow together naturally and patiently in the smart way. See you in the next one.